Every time the word hell appears in your English Bible, you are reading a translation. But here is what almost no one stops to ask. A translation of what exactly? Because in the original texts, Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, there is no single word for hell. There are 4 completely different words, 4 different concepts. And somewhere between the ancient manuscripts and your modern Bible, all 4 were collapsed into one. The doctrine of eternal fire. The fear that shaped 2,000 years of faith. Built on 4 words that were never the same word. Stay with me. 4 words. Let's go. The English word hell comes from Old English. Hell, a term borrowed from Norse mythology, a cold, shadowy underworld. No fire, no punishment, no theology that Christianity would later attach to it. When translators, most famously the King James Bible team in 1611, needed a single English word for every afterlife passage across both testaments, they reached for hell. And they used it for all 4 original words, regardless of what those words actually meant in their original context. Here is what that cost us. In the Hebrew Bible alone, the word for where the dead go appears 65 times. In the most influential English translations in history, every one of those 65 appearances was flattened into a single word that the original text simply does not contain. 4 words. The first one predates Christianity by more than 1,000 years. The first word is Sheol. It appears 65 times in the Hebrew Bible. Here is what it is: the realm of the dead, not a place of punishment, not a place of fire. A dark, shadowy underworld where, in the ancient Hebrew imagination, everyone went when they died. The righteous, the wicked, together, let that land, because it is precise, and the precision matters. In Genesis 37:35, Jacob hears that his son Joseph is dead. He says, "I will go down mourning to my son in Sheol." Jacob, the patriarch, the father of 12 tribes, the man who wrestled with God, expected to go to Sheol, not to paradise, not to punishment, the same place his lost son went. And Job, in one of the most explicit afterlife passages in the entire Hebrew Bible, says this about Sheol: "There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary are at rest." The wicked, the weary, together at rest. This is not hell in any sense that English carries. This is the ancient grave, undifferentiated, dark, and for the early Hebrew imagination, simply the end. No first-century Jew hearing Jesus speak would have confused Sheol with what came next. Because word 2 is where the fire actually comes from, and it comes from a place you can visit on Google Maps. The second word is Gehenna. Jesus uses it 11 of the 12 times it appears in the New Testament. Gehenna is not a metaphysical realm. It is a geographic location. The Valley of Hinnom, Gehinnom in Hebrew, Gehenna in Aramaic, is a real valley on the southwestern edge of Jerusalem. You can stand in it today. It has a bus stop. In the 7th century BCE, this valley was the site of child sacrifices to the god Moloch. King Josiah desecrated it permanently. 2 Kings 23:10 documents it, declaring it impure, a place that could never be reclaimed. By the 1st century CE, Gehenna was the garbage dump of Jerusalem. Fires burned there continuously. Bodies of criminals were sometimes thrown there, a place of waste, of rot, of things that had no other place to go. When Jesus says in Matthew 5:22, "You will be liable to the fire of Gehenna," he is pointing to a place his listeners could walk to in 40 minutes. A place every person in that crowd understood as where Jerusalem sent its refuse. Joachim Jeremias, the German New Testament scholar whose work on the historical Jesus remains foundational, documented that Gehenna in 1st century Jewish teaching functioned primarily as a metaphor, a warning aimed at the living about the direction their choices were taking them, not a blueprint for the afterlife. The fire was real, the place was real, but it was a garbage dump, not a cosmic torture chamber, and it is not the same word as Sheol. If this is making you hear a text you thought you knew in a completely different way, subscribe to the Ether Scroll. Turn on notifications. This is exactly what we do here. The third word is Hades. Hades is the Greek god of the underworld, and also the word for the realm he rules. When New Testament writers, writing in Greek for Greek-speaking audiences, needed a word for the Hebrew concept of Sheol, they used Hades. It was the closest available equivalent. But here is the structural fact that changes everything. In Revelation 20:14, the final judgment scene of the entire Christian canon, the text says, "Death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire." Think about what that means. Hades, the word your Bible translates as hell, is itself destroyed at the end of the story. If Hades were the final destination, you would have hell being thrown into hell. The text is saying something more precise. The intermediate realm of the dead is not permanent. It is temporary. It ends. This is not a minor detail. It is a structural fact that one English word made nearly impossible to see. The fourth word appears exactly once in the New Testament. Once. In 2 Peter 2:4, the text says, "God cast the sinning angels into Tartarus, committed them to chains of darkness to await judgment." Tartarus comes directly from Greek mythology. In Hesiod's Theogony, written in the 8th century BCE, it is the deepest abyss in the cosmos, beneath even the underworld, where the defeated Titans were imprisoned after losing their war against the Olympians. The author of 2 Peter reached for the most extreme term in the entire Greek mythological vocabulary, not for humans, for fallen angels, as a holding place, until judgment. One word, one occurrence, one specific subject, and your English Bible rendered it the same single word as the Valley of Hinnom, as the shadowy realm where Jacob expected to go, as the Greek god of the dead. 4 words, one translation, one doctrine. Let me be precise about what this does and does not mean. This is not an argument that consequences don't exist. The New Testament absolutely teaches that the direction of a life has ultimate weight. But here is what a growing number of biblical scholars argue. The doctrine of eternal conscious torment was not built on one consistent teaching. It was built on a conflation, on 4 words that carried 4 entirely different images, forced into the same English container. Sheol, the ancient Hebrew realm where both the righteous and the wicked went, where Jacob expected to go. Gehenna, a burning garbage dump outside Jerusalem, a warning to the living, not a map of the afterlife. Hades, the Greek underworld, itself destroyed at the end of Revelation, not the final state. Tartarus, the mythological abyss for fallen angels, once, for one specific purpose. The doctrine that shaped the fear of billions was assembled from this conflation, not by liars, not by conspirators, by translators working in good faith. Jerome in 405 AD, the King James team in 1611, each one reaching for the nearest available word and handing it forward across centuries until it hardened into theology. The cost of that decision, what was compressed, what was lost, is precisely what 4 words can show you that one word cannot. The translation is not wrong. It is thinner than the original. And now you have heard the original. What you do with 4 words where you were given 1, that is yours to decide. Subscribe to the Ether Scroll. Turn on notifications. Sheol, Gehenna, Hades, Tartarus. Each one opens into a conversation the translation closed. We are always headed one layer deeper.